What happens when one of the world's most powerful tech giants gets caught misusing your data? Is justice just a matter of writing a massive check, or are deeper reforms possible? And more importantly, who's really setting the standards in the global privacy battle? The United States or the European Union? Welcome to Diritto al Digitale, the podcast where we explore the intersection of law and innovation. I'm Giulio Coraggio, a technology and data lawyer at the global law firm DLA Piper. And today, we'll dissect one of the most headline-grabbing privacy cases of the recent years: Google's $1.375 billion settlement in Texas over location tracking and biometric data misuse. But we'll also go beyond the dollar signs, comparing this case with some of the most impactful European GDPR sanctions. Let's dive in. On May 15, 2024, Google agreed to pay $1.375 billion to settle two lawsuits filed by the Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. The allegations were serious. Google allegedly tracked users' physical location, even when they thought they had opted out, like in incognito mode or with the location history disabled. It also collected and stored biometric data, including voice prints and facial geometry, without obtaining valid informed consent. If this sounds familiar, it's because it is. Google has been repeatedly targeted in the US for privacy violations. In 2022, the company paid $391 million to 4 US states over similar location tracking issues. In 2023, it reached smaller settlements with Indiana and Washington states, $29.5 million combined, and California, $93 million. So what makes the Texas case stand out? Well, the sheer amount, $1,375,000, is the largest privacy-related settlement ever imposed on Google in the United States. And unlike European cases, it focused not just on advertising data, but also on biometric identifiers, one of the most sensitive and legally complex categories of personal data. Let's take a closer look at the biometric side of this case, though. In the United States, states like Illinois and Texas have enacted dedicated biometric privacy laws. The Biometric Information Privacy Act, so-called BIPA, in Illinois is particularly aggressive. It allows individuals to sue companies directly for the unauthorized collection of their biometric data. Think about fingerprints, voice recognition, facial scans. Under these laws, consent is not just a nice to have, it's legally mandatory. And the damages are real. Meta, for instance, paid $650 million under BIPA for its facial recognition practices on Facebook. Now Google is joining the list with an even larger payout. But unlike in Europe, where regulatory enforcement is centralized under data protection authorities, the US system enables privacy enforcement, a key reason why tech companies are being hit with such high settlements. Now, let's flip the coin and look at Europe. Here, privacy enforcement is grounded in the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation. Instead of settlements, we have administrative fines. And Google hasn't been immune. In 2019, France's Data Protection Authority, the CNIL, fined Google with a fine of 50 million euros for failing to obtain valid user consent for personalized ads. In 2020, CNIL again imposed a further 100 million fine over cookie violations. In 2022, Spain's Data Protection Authority fined Google with a fine of 10 million euros for improper international data transfers. And in Ireland, home to Google's European headquarters, multiple investigations have been launched, though often criticized for moving too slowly or ending without significant consequences. This brings us to a crucial difference. While US cases often involve huge settlements, GDPR fines usually come with deep structural consequences. We're talking about mandatory audits, business process reforms, and sometimes orders to suspend data processing altogether. And it's not just about money, it's about changing how companies operate in practice. So, who's really tougher on big techs? Let's compare. The US model has pros and cons. Pros: big headline-making numbers, powerful state-level enforcement, especially on biometrics. Civil Liability and Class Actions Act as powerful deterrents. Cons: no admission of guilt. Companies often pay and move on. The European model, the GDPR model. Pros: system impact. Reforms become permanent. Focus on transparency, user control, and data minimization. Cons: enforcement can be slow, and fines don't always reflect the scale of harm. But here's the twist. Google's changes after the Texas case showed the growing influence of US pressure on product design. The company has since started storing location data locally, allowing easier deletion of tracking history, and limiting voice and biometric data retention. Would this have happened under the GDPR alone? Maybe, but probably not as fast. If you are at a company, regardless of where you're based, these cases send a clear message. Biometric data is a legal minefield. Transparency and user control must be designed into your products from day one. And privacy isn't just a European issue anymore, it's a global strategic concern. And DLA Piper will help companies implementing privacy compliance strategies that don't just react to regulations, but they anticipate them. Because whether you're dealing with the FTC, the CNIL, the Texas Attorney General, one thing is clear: regulators are watching closely. So, let me ask you, do you think Google should be allowed to settle cases without admitting wrongdoing? Is the European model really more effective or just more bureaucratic? And as we head into a future dominated biometrics, AI, and surveillance, are we prepared for the privacy challenges ahead? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Write to me at giulio.coraggio@dlapiper.com to share your opinion or suggest future topics. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast Diritto al Digitale. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. And if you enjoyed today's discussion, leave us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I'm Giulio Coraggio, this is Diritto al Digitale, arrivederci!